Today I am going to create an illustration with colored paper. Let's see if I can do this. The idea that I've got today is to make a illustration in colored paper. I have a selection here. I don't think I'm going to use all these colors. I don't know yet. I'm sort of just winging this. I have an idea in my head. I'm just going to see if it's going to work. And I've got the corrugated paper that I have recently found. So I want to use that again and yeah, create something with this. So the image I have today is something that I thought might be cool in sort of like a 3D paper art. And yeah, so I've got like a cyborg woman head. So this here is actually going to be a skin tone. This part here is going to be done with the grey paper. So this is the mechanical part here, and her mechanical sort of spine, cyborgy type thing. And then a bunch of hoses, which I'm sort of I have an idea of how I'm going to do them, but I'm just hoping that I can execute this the way that I want. So to give it that 3D look, I'm going to use some propping up with some cardboard from this Scrawlrbox. I'm going to recycle this Scrawlrbox. And I've also found some other bits of paper, different colors. I've got them as well. Can I do this? I don't know. This video may not even go up. But let's give it a crack and let's see if I can create an illustration with bits of paper. First, I planned out all the colors that I was going to be using. This took a little bit of planning and a little bit of flicking through the paper, but I was pretty, I sort of knew what I was going to be doing anyway. So the next step was to create that really uneven sort of diamond shape. So I ended up just taking the corrugated paper, which I chose red because I sort of wanted the background and the actual cyborg woman to stand out from one another. So I went with a bright background because she was basically going to be quite muted colors, other than the wiring that you'll see in the ends. So the best way that I sort of wanted to approach this was just trace my image, because I was extremely happy with the image, and I just got my little sheet of carbon paper and I ended up tracing it straight onto the bits of colored card stock that I wanted everything to be on. So this was quite time consuming. It was quite tedious, and like I've said in the previous videos, I don't go into my projects with a huge amount of planning. I find it quite exciting to just tackle it straight up and just get stuck into it and then see how I go along the way and do it that way. That's just how I operate. I find that's just me, like me just planning, huge amounts of planning. I'm too impatient for that. I just can't do that. So yeah, I get it right most of the time. There's only a few changes that I have to do, but I really didn't have to do any changes with this piece, which was good because I sort of felt that this was a little bit more straightforward. I think the only thing that I sort of had a few issues with was how high I was going to be making the 3D parts of the piece. Now, what amazed me was, as you just saw me do then, the carbon paper actually traced onto the black paper, which was pretty cool, and you could see it. So I was happy with that. I wasn't sure if that was going to work, but it did. So just in case you didn't know that, for future reference. So I just got some glue and I just started gluing all the pieces onto the face, onto the skin sort of toned cardstock that I used. And what I wanted to do from there was just do a lot of the detail with the liners. I didn't want to do a lot of the details with paper. That was just way too much tediousness that I wanted to tackle. So I went in with a marker and drew all the details on that way. This was definitely a project that was very different for me and was definitely out of my comfort zone a fair bit, trying to create an illustration purely out of just paper pieces. I sort of felt like this was something that really had to, you had to get it right the first time. And it's, I don't know, you could potentially really make this like go pear-shaped real quick if you sort of didn't take enough sort of care in planning out your design. But yeah, I believe I pulled it off. I think that like there is definitely like it's not a perfect project and it's not like a super awesome piece that I have seen on the internet with a lot of people that just use plain just paper. They don't use any pens to do any details. They just use paper. Like I was not ready for that at all. No way was I going to just purely use paper without attacking it in sections with my liners and my silver Sharpie, because I have just been loving my silver Sharpie lately, and it was really cool to sort of add some silver textures and silver little details and elements on the pieces, especially the back of the head, which is a machine. So I really, I just really wanted to add that element. So what I ended up doing with the cardboard is I ended up going 3 high. So I got 3 pieces of cardboard and stuck 3 together. I found that was probably the best height to have everything. Like I didn't want it super popped out and super 3D, but I wanted it enough that you could definitely see that there was 3D elements to the piece. Yeah, and it was the perfect height, I thought. So I went around all the edges with the brush marker because I sort of wanted a more finished edge. So I ended up coloring all the edges in black. So there's a lot of tiny little pieces in this, especially when I get down to the end of the piece with all the little bits of colored wiring that I added to the head, and that started to sort of annoy me a little bit. Like I'm usually pretty good with putting things together because that's all I've ever done my whole life. Is I loved buying kits and putting them together and doing really fine tiny details. But I sort of noticed as I'm getting older, I start to get the jitters and I start to shake, and my eyes, I've noticed, are sort of going downhill a bit. So I probably should get my eyes tested. But yeah, I don't know, I'm sort of losing my touch to really create tiny pieces. Like put tiny pieces together. So yeah, I'm sort of like a little bit disappointed in myself. So I might have to do more of these and get well acquainted with it again. But so this was the spine. I wanted a very sort of metallic robot sort of spine, and this was going to be like she had been severed off at the spine because of what she had done. So I'll get to the story of this woman now. So the plot in the story, I should say, the story to this cyborg woman is she was created to be just to be a robot that they could send to places and help. And she has 2 modes, and you'll see when I start to create, because I end up creating a remote in the end. And the remote was actually a last sort of decision. It was not in the planning, but for some reason when I finished the piece, I felt as though she was lacking something. So I ended up just on the spot going, bugger it, I'm going to create a remote. And the remote's not the most symmetric thing you'll ever see, but I honestly tried. So so the story is she's been decommissioned now because she turned evil, because the person that was controlling her decided to go a little bit rogue. And as you will see on the remote, that there is a blood thumb stain on the destroy button. So what this person that was controlling her decided to do was actually send her into a mission, and he pressed the destroy button, but she ended up destroying him. Hence the reason why there's blood on the remote. And yeah, I wanted to put it on the destroy button because just to sort of indicate that he had pressed that button when he shouldn't have, and this sort of led to his demise. And the fact that she got decommissioned for it, and she is now back in the lab being recalibrated, and yeah, just sort of probably will never be used again, but just making sure that she never does fire up. And because you know, once these robots kill once, they keep killing, and they have that embedded into their circuit boards. Wow, I went into quite a bit of detail there. I just kept going, didn't I? So yeah, that's the story to this cyborg woman. She was used as a weapon, and she was used inappropriately. So I went through and just did the piping and all the tubing with the white gel pen, just to define all those sort of elements, and finish the whole cyborg head off, and went through all the little wires, and yeah, then mounted her onto the red corrugated boards, and then stuck all the little piping and tubes behind. And this is when I knew that I had to do the remote. So yeah, tackling a paper illustration was extremely fun, totally out of my comfort zone, and I really did enjoy it. So yeah, I do want to do another one of these in the future. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed watching me do this. And like, it's not the best piece that I could have done, or could have executed it a little bit better, but yeah, I don't mind it. Like, it's okay. Yeah, I'm fairly relatively happy with it. So yeah, so I will leave you guys now to watch the rest. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.